All right, so who's familiar with the law of diffusion of innovation? Everybody. Okay. What this says is anytime new technology launches, there's a distribution of the participants in that market for a particular idea or concept. So if you think back to websites and you think back of when you needed to do Google AdWords and do reviews and all those sort of things, like there are people who like jumped on that stuff in 2008, 9, 10, and had a huge head start on the market because their competitors were still kind of cross-armed about it. I worked here and stood here and did these sort of things back in that period of time, and the idea that you would have a website, like 90% of the room was like, why would someone need to do that? What's a digital storefront? Now it's table stakes. But what I want to talk about here is everything we're going to talk about today as we transition to tell you Lennox dealer stories and examples of working with e-commerce and integrating into their business. You're not going first. How many people in this room are actually using contractor commerce or e-commerce today? Okay, that is about 12 or 15% of the room. So thank you, first of all, very much for one, coming here, and two, being a customer. But everybody else, you're in this core. You're in the early majority, late majority, right? Some of you are the laggards. Some of you will do this eventually. You're just not going to do it between now and the next 3 or 4 years. But what's cool about being in that group, and that's why it's the most highly dense segment of the innovation curve, is some people just sign up for stuff and they don't care what happens and they'll just go for it and run with it. And those are our innovators, right? They've already taken all the lessons. Then you've got people who are like, I need a couple of case studies. I want to make sure nobody died. That's our early adopters. That's the people who just raised their hand. So everybody else who I'm going to be speaking to, everyone in this room, everyone else in this core, like this has been tested, this is safe, and you get to learn from the people who went before you. So speaking of the people that went before you, I do want to thank everyone who is an existing contractor commerce customer who has trusted us with this. There are so many names here, I can't possibly mention everybody. So we're now over 250 Lennox dealers working with us on contract commerce. So the question is, if 250 Lennox dealers are doing this, how did it go? So for the balance of this time, we're going to share some of those stories. I'm going to start with a company in Kansas City, Missouri. And Brendan Williams, everybody know Brendan? Brendan's one of those guys, sales-minded guy. He's very, very direct. You know when you make a potentially difficult customer happy? And you look at your team and like, we got something here. This is why I share Brendan's story. Brendan is not fun to work with. He's the one who will pull you aside at the bar and tell you all the things. And I got to catch up with him a couple of weeks ago to get some of his feedback, as well as some others. And the only thing Brendan did, well, let me take this back. He'd signed up for Contractor Commerce about 2 years ago and had some success with it, but nothing that he was like overwhelmingly optimistic about. He was like, yeah, it's good. But he listened to us and he made one slight change. This is low-hanging fruit for every single person in this room. Ray Broman, are you here? Super low-hanging fruit. I just had breakfast with Ray this morning. If you think about your customer and you think about what they're doing, you think about the thousands of people that come to your website and why they come there, if you just put the words instant estimate somewhere on the homepage of your website where a customer can see it on their phone and not have to adjust their hand to be able to click it with their thumb, you're in the game. And I'll show you what this looks like. So this is Brendan.
We have had 259 submissions. That has led to $450,127 total revenue. That's a success.
So 259 people clicked the instant estimate button, scheduled a home visit at some point, and you sold $450,000 in new customer revenue last year. We had to back out the non-new customers. Some people will do this well. This is another story I'll tell you. Some people, while your technician or salesperson are in the home, will go to your website and get an instant estimate while they're in the home. Have you ever looked up the price of a car when you're at a car dealership? Of course. You want to reduce your anxiety. You want to reduce your uncertainty. So I could share that and say, like, that's enough. That should be all you need to hear. Make a slight change to how you think about your business and how you think about your customer. Make some tweaks, but I'm not convinced it's enough. So we're going to go through a bunch of education and insight over the next couple of 20 or 30 minutes and share some more stories. So Before we get started with that, I want to share with you two problems that I see facing residential HVAC contractors today. Now, I don't want to be naive's the word, or there are a lot of problems that you guys have to deal with. Hiring, regulations, refrigerant, tariffs now, it's a fun one. That's a thing. But I want to talk about two problems that are affecting the way you're relating and the way you're connecting with your customers and growing through new customers. The first, problem number one, the growing impatience and expectations of today's buyer. Would you agree that people in general are more difficult or less difficult to work with these days? More difficult. Would you agree that you as a buyer of things is more or less difficult? Right, more? This shows up as people scheduling and then canceling. This shows up as Karens and Kens, people with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder when you're engaging with them, people who think that, who have lack of trust and those sort of things. And here's what the data says. 75% of buyers would prefer to have a seller-free sales experience. I want to pause here. I am not recommending a seller-free sales experience. There may be a day when that is the case from start to finish, and I hope to be long gone at that point. I'm not recommending that. But that's what consumers want. And you want it too, up to a certain point, right? As a buyer. 67% of buyers say they would prefer to have pricing details available online before engaging with a sales rep. They want upfront transparency. That's tough. Transparency is tricky. How much information do you give them? How much information do you give your competitors? How do you give them the right information? Those are the things we're going to talk about today. 90% of B2C buyers say that when they're ready to buy, they will find you. So market all you want, they'll find you. 69% of buyers say they want self-service to be available at every stage of the sales journey, including pricing and cost evaluation. These are things they want to do privately without you. So the question you have to ask as you listen to things I'm going to share with you today, as you hear these Lennox dealer stories, is do you believe this is going to become more or less true in the future? Inevitably more. I can't see a world, and either could you, where it goes backwards. Where people go, you know what? Less is more, right? People are super hungry for information. They want to do two things. They want to reduce uncertainty, reduce anxiety. We're going to talk about that with some real life examples here. Problem number two, this one's really interesting. Lead generation isn't quite what it used to be. How many of you were the first in your market to launch a WordPress website where you updated your blogs and you told your company's story and you had it stuffed with all the keywords that people would need when they're searching for things in your market, in your area, and you did service pages that match with, I'm in Lubbock, Texas, Lubbock maintenance, Lubbock service, Lubbock sales, whatever that might be. And you had an edge in the market. You had more reviews than everybody. You were ranking organically. You were ranking paid. And the paid wasn't absurd cost. It was a couple $1,000 a month. Like, was that your reality in 2012, 13, 14, 15? And now what's it like? Go back to the innovation curve. Everybody's doing it. And it's become easier to do it. You can invent an HVAC company on paper today and get a lot of reviews and make it appear as if you're an authority in your market just through using some couple $100 a month technologies that exist out there. It's crazy. 54% of businesses across various sectors say that lead quality has declined in 2024, forcing them to spend more time nurturing unqualified leads. We're going to talk about nurturing unqualified leads here in a moment. 66% of home improvement companies say that customer acquisition cost, the cost to acquire a customer, has increased significantly in 2024. 80% of B2C marketers, this is your marketing company, or these are the people who are the marketing managers, directors, VPs in your company who are doing marketing, say that they're struggling to make it perform like it did in previous years. They're struggling. It's more competitive, it's more expensive. Changes in consumer behavior, what people do and how they find you and how they engage with you and how they become a customer, and digital privacy. So, I can't present to you two big problems that are impacting your business without confidently telling you that I think I have a solution for that. And it's proven through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of contractors now. The problem, growing impatience and expectations of today's buyer, my recommendation is give the customer what they're looking for, right? Make it easy for them to become a customer, beat them at their own game. Leads are more expensive and lower quality in years past. You've got to differentiate and do something different in your market. Try new ways to capture qualified buyers, and that's part of what we'll talk about today. So, back to Brendan, Kansas City. I asked him, looking back, you've done this a couple years now, you're having some success, things are good, you're happy, I'm happy. Why did you even open this can of worms? Why did you go down this road? Here's what he said.
Trying to meet the next generation of homeowners and purchasers in the market. Newer generations, they're switching to more digital stuff. When we heard about it, we really liked the idea of it and trying to create another funnel, another pipeline to bringing people to our service.
So Brendan wanted to create a new pipeline, a new way of bringing people to his service. This is Luke with Deljo Heating. So Deljo is a great contractor outside of Chicago. I asked him the same question.
I believe there is a big segment of the population that is out there looking for research before they make a phone call. So trying to capture that lead prior to that phone call, but also just trying to create a little more transparency in our industry with pricing.
He said something interesting. There's a segment of the market that's out there that's trying to do things without making a phone call. How many of you would agree that phone calls don't necessarily correlate to your revenue right now? Right? People, guys, we're all doing it. We don't want to pick up the phone. And it's not just a millennial thing. It's going to be a while before they can buy houses anyway. It's not just a younger generation thing. It's people just want low friction. Technology enables low friction. You have a very high friction business. And it should be that way, right? To some degree, you really need to put boots on the ground and do things the right way. Let's help bridge the gap with those customers. So we're going to talk about instant estimates. There has been, and why this matters, why this is important. There's obviously a shift in search and online behaviors, which we'll talk about here. Customer buying journeys are changing. Customers want to go far through the process without engaging with a human being. That's not good for you. We need to solve for that. And then the other big scary thing that exists is online retailers, which we'll share quite a bit of examples of here in a moment. Direct sellers, people who want to sell equipment directly to your customer without you involved, are going after market share. People always used to say, HVAC isn't sexy. That's what I heard when I entered this business a long time ago. It looks pretty sexy to a lot of people, a lot of investors, a lot of technology companies. I'll share some examples, a lot of private equity. Very, very sexy. So this quote on the bottom here in red, this is from Quan. If you guys remember Quan from a couple of years ago, you remember Quan. I bet Quan remembers you too. Said, contractors might not close a sale online, but they must be willing to take customers further through the sales process digitally than ever before. So here's another article that, again, when you connect with us, we'll share with you. There's a gap. There's some tension. HVAC customers and contractors are at odds with this idea of instant estimates, at odds with this idea of online pricing. And it's a great article that you should read. But here is the main thing I need you to take away. I always try to not say, this is the most important thing. This is the most important thing. This is one of the most important things you're going to hear today, okay? This is a study done by the ACHR News. And what it says here is that homeowners are more likely to call an HVAC company. 71% of homeowners are more likely to call an HVAC company who has transparent pricing on their website. That's what this big blue circle is. I hope you could read that. I know I can't. But here's the problem. This is what I call the gap. Only 31% of contractors have some sort of transparent pricing on their website. Now that's up 20%. So last year, 70% of consumers said this was important. This year, 71% of consumers, right? So that's relatively stable. Contractors, 20% of the market had transparent pricing on their website. Now it's 30%. That's like you, Jim. A year ago, you were not in that. Now you are in that, 31%. I would even argue and push back on this 31% number to say that's not fully representative of people who actually have real transparent HVAC installed pricing on their website. I'm talking people who are okay saying this $22,000 system. I'm not talking about we have a $49 tune-up. That is important. So I still think it's low single digits. I also know this because I know how big the industry is, and I know who does this for contractors, and it's us. And I think that number's a little inflated. So I think it's smaller than that. I would argue to say that 71% of consumers would prefer to do business with people who have pricing online, and maybe 5% of the market actually has that. So that's called the gap, right? What happens when there's a massive gap, 70-30 split, in my opinion, 75 split, between what consumers want and what exists in the market? I try not to overuse the Uber analogy. We're not going to do that. But that's what happens. When there's a huge gap between the way things are and the way consumers want things to be. Side note, I took a real taxi for the first time coming out of the airport. Anybody else been Uber forever and then you took a real taxi to get here? It felt weird, didn't it? Like getting the credit card out and trying to swipe it with the headrest right there. And like, do I swipe? Do I tap? Do I tip? Is the tip, like, gross experience.
Not knowing what the price is until you get.
Not knowing what the price is. Think about that. Uber, I get to make that decision. I have an Uber X or an Uber XL frame on an Uber X budget. $28 is just fine. Now, what's interesting, though, it's so interesting you mentioned that. Thank you. I assumed, so I get in the line, and they send you to your taxi, and they're like, you go to number 5. I didn't get to choose which taxi I got into. It was fine, whatever. I knew where we were going. But I made the assumption that, like, probably going to be about $40 because of the transparency that exists through Uber now. It's put pressure on the taxi. The taxi guy's not going to screw me over. Maybe 10 years ago he could have. But like I even had an unconscious trust where I was like, I'm going to go through this gross experience of having to actually pull out a credit card and not have anonymity. This guy can drop me off in the, like, he doesn't know who I am. I don't know who he is. He may never come home. But I trusted and was like, I made the assumption. So there's some correlations there. I see a new slide coming. So technology gap. This is another article by the ACHR News about a new company that launched a ductless mini split back in September of last year. Beautiful website, beautiful design. You guys should check this out. The company's name is Quilt. But then you have to ask yourself, why? Did we need another mini split manufacturer? This is their value prop. Not we make the quietest, not we make the nicest, not we make the most energy efficient. It's transparent pricing with rebates applied up front. If you read this article, you'll find that these are 3 former Google employees who raised $30 million from Silicon Valley investors to launch a mini split. In a world where you can get mini splits on Amazon for $700. But investors said 70% of the market wants transparent upfront pricing. Single-digit % of the market delivers that. We just need to make it easy for people to buy mini splits. I doubt 3 Google employees, without any disrespect to Google employees, probably Stanford graduates, that's another story, nothing wrong with that. I doubt they were like, let's make a heat pump, man. I really want to make an applied product. I really want to tinker with manufacturing and refrigerant. No, they see the huge gap. And this is just one example. By the way, if you go to Quilt's website, beautiful website, you can get a mini split installed for $6,500 per zone, $6,450. That's not a bad price. That's not what I'm going to show you here in a moment. That's legit. I don't run an HVAC company, but if I did, I think we could figure out a way to do a mini split, one zone for $6,500. We could probably do the math. The math would math, as they say. That might work. So this is something you should keep an eye on. Here's why. I mentioned Google. We're going to talk about Google again. Google search for residential HVAC, this is non-branded keywords. This is people searching for best AC company Tucson, right? Up 40% since 2021. People say they don't trust Google. People say they see your billboards, but when it comes down to it and they need service or they need a major replacement, they go best AC company Tucson. 1.7 million searches every month for non-branded keywords. Huge opportunity. This is going to change with AI search. This is going to change with how many people have defaulted to only asking ChatGPT things and not asking Google things. I was thinking about this morning. I use ChatGPT for all sorts of different things, and I disclose it when it produces content or something. But the way I used it now, today, is different than the way I used it a month ago. Like that technology is not slowing down. So that'll have an impact on search, and we'll talk about that next year. But 1.7 million searches, up 40%. People trust Google even though they say they don't. But that's not the learning. Like, those are just the facts. Here's the insight from that. Here's what really matters. Price is at parity with proximity. What I mean by that is Google's most powerful feature has been local search, right? Finding companies to engage with and do business with around you. Reading reviews, getting directions, all those sorts of things, right? Years ago, it was all about searching for the people around you and then filtering on their own who they want to do business with. Now, 50-50, 1-to-1 split, pricing search is equal to proximity search. It's no longer best air conditioning company near Tucson. It's AC pricing Tucson. Cost of a furnace Tucson. And it's while you're in the home with them. Not exclusively, but it's absolutely 10 p.m. on a Friday night. And I'm going to tell you some stories about that. But this is the real insight. What people are searching for has changed. So in any of your markets right now, if you pull open Google, don't do it right now, but do it later. By the way, your Google search results are going to be different, so you need to use incognito mode or something. But if you type AC pricing, Tucson or Phoenix or whatever, the first thing that's going to pop up are non-contractors. I promise you. There might be 1 or 2 contractors max on any given page. What you will find are companies like this, Angie's List, Home Advisor. No offense to these companies. These are companies that see the opportunity. 70% of the market wants something. Single-digit percent of the market is delivering that. They see the opportunity. So here's Angie List. How much does it cost to install or replace an HVAC system? Where do you think they got that question from? The people who type it into Google? Like, that's how you start a business, a technology company. Put in your information, get a quote from Angie's List. Angie's List will then, thankfully, they'll sell you that lead and 10 of your competitors for $75. Like, who's winning there? The consumer's not winning. You're not winning. Home Advisor, Angie's List is winning. No offense, probably a great company. But they're winning. Or worse, your customer finds this. HVACdirect.com, easy system selector, find the right system, we'll ship it to you. Heatandcool.com, here's a Goodman system, $2,600. Here's online shopping ads. There's an LG mini split for $1,000 at eComfort.com. This is all day, every day, and not stopping. Or this, full system, $2,300. Anybody know what website this is? Lowe's. This is happening today. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, type it in. And you shake your head, right? And you should. And it's scary. And there's this, tension in your mind that's like, and I believe this too, like, we're a long ways away from the majority of equipment being bought. I hope to be gone in that world. But it happened with air filters. How many of you installed Lennox Healthy Climate cabinets over a period of 20 years under the impression that customer would have to come back to you to get that filter? Lots of heads nodding. And then what happened? They buy it online cheaper and faster, and they get it to show up the next day, and they can save it to cart and get an auto shipment. We're going to come back to talk about filters at the end of this, okay? We've solved this. If this is something that gives you tension inside your gut toward your Lennox rep or the Lennox in general, I promise you we have solved this and put you in a position to get this business back and win and not make any sacrifices on margin. Like, it's legit. Thinking about e-commerce, taking a little step back here, we're going to break it down into 2 categories. We're going to talk about products that we will ship for you, but products you can ship to your customer like filters. And we're going to talk about buying journeys. I'm going to give you more details on exactly how this works and exactly how you can apply it. Sound good? This is Eddie from Zen Air. Eddie is in Atlanta, Georgia. And what you want to hear here is, Eddie launched online estimates for his business a couple of years ago. And I want you to hear how he incorporated this new way to go to market through his messaging.
Hey, it's Eddie with ZenAir. A question we get asked a lot is how much is the cost of a new HVAC system? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into answering that question. But at callzenair.com, we've developed a very easy, quick online tool to answer that question for you. There's 4 questions that we need answered in order to give you an accurate quote. The first, are you trying to replace your heating system, your cooling system, or both? The second question is, what area does this system service? Is it the entire floor? Is it part of a floor? And what is the approximate square footage? The third question is, where's your indoor unit located? Is it in the attic, in the crawl space, or in the garage? And the last question is, what is the source of fuel for your heat? Is it natural gas, propane, or is it an all-electric system? If you can answer these 4 questions, then we can give you a free instant quote. So if you're interested, click on the link below and you can have a quote in your inbox in just a couple minutes.
So Eddie's in a unique market. Atlanta's an awesome market for HVAC, but one of the market leaders there has a $89 air conditioning system that they lease. And so people are price conditioned to like $89, right? That's how much air conditioners cost. So he took that message to market. He's doing really, really well with it. This is me doing an actual search for HVAC pricing near Kingston, New York. I'm typing into Google online quote for HVAC Kingston, New York. And you'll see we've got a couple Google guaranteed ads that show up. We've got Airtron, who's running an online estimator through us, HVAC Pros. But the second organic listing is John S. Parker. Are they here? I know some of their people. Instant online quote from their website. Takes them to the contractor commerce system that lives within their website. Gets the customer's information, name, address, system type, square footage, location of indoor unit, and our system will calculate and pull all the different matchups to deliver a good, better, best quote. In this case, this contractor only shows monthly pricing, $185 to $352 for 3 different Lennox systems. No model numbers are mentioned or matchups or anything like that. They let the customer schedule a home visit and go from there. And I think I mentioned the pricing. In this case, here's one example, $200 to $395 pricing per month. Can everyone squeeze a system into a single family home for about that price? It's about right. Another example, Border Heating, instant estimates on his website, has had tremendous success. This is the key, is just making it front and center for your customer to be able to get a quote. And if you do this, the question is, what will happen?
I am shocked by how many leads we get from the hours of 8 p.m. till 2 in the morning when people are sitting on their couch or sitting in bed. I think it was pretty eye-opening to see how many people are out there shopping late at night, thinking about this stuff. But I think the biggest win is capturing those people that normally would have to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning when they're at work to call or send an email to request some information. They're one step ahead of them, of their process, when they're sitting on their couch, and you're right there. You're the first one.
If they're doing these searches in the evenings, as we know they are, and they land on your website, you need to take them off the market. What you can't do is have them fill out a contact form where someone will get back to them, and then they go straight to Google to start figuring out what they're going to be looking at, right? You've got to take them off the market. That's a great example. Then the other question is close rates, right? So we'll have to cover this in a one-on-one as you meet with us and our team, and we'll show you some examples here. But you're opening up a new funnel. Like right now, if you have 2 salespeople who can run 3 a day, you can only run so many estimates per week, right? You're just limited by that. You're going to be opening up a wider funnel of people who are engaging much higher upstream. But then the question is, what does this do for close rates? Noah here? Noah, this is where your videos are going to start popping up. So,
as far as getting to the home, if they have a price when we get out there, it's probably 80% of the time we're closing on something, right? And that's right then and there. They still might come back later on, but generally if they let us get back out the door and they've seen the price, we're closing on 80%.
It's really important for me to get feedback from the people who lead the sales teams for our customers, because those are the ones that are most apprehensive when you roll something like this out, because they've got a process, they've got a team, they have their close rates, they have their funnel math, right? They have their certain methodology for making sure that they're performing at a high level, and you introduce something new like this and it can be a little scary. So to get feedback from someone like Noah, who runs a team at a very, very high performing company that his close rates are 80%, right? And he's got some more stories to share too. The other piece is quality.
8 out of the last 10 calls we probably got that we've actually got a hold of the person and booked. That's crazy. It's impressive. You know, it's not a bunch of BS leads coming in or, you know, people just necessarily fishing. They've been genuine people really wanting to get something done to their house.
Genuine people that really want to get something done to their house. We're at the point now, and I've been waiting for this for 4 years, where we launched this idea, we built this company on a napkin, and we were sure that we were right. We were absolutely sure. And now to be able to stand in front of you and say, like, we were right. Like, this is where it's working. Guys like Noah, Chaz Roberts having a ton of success, Right Way. Lots of people are having a ton of success with this. If you do this, I have no incentive to not tell you the truth here. You will win more jobs this year.
We ended up going out to homeowner only wanted one system for his house. And we go out there and happen to just be his rental house. And so we ended up selling him on a job there. He just wanted a entry-level system that worked out perfect. Well, from there, he had his own house, which that house had 7 units on it. So we got 3 of those right away. And we got a water heater out of that as well. So I think the total revenue was upwards of 100K total. That turned out to be a very benefit, one lead, that turned into multiple systems.
You ever get a call on a rental house and even your CSRs and your staff is like, rental. Like, that could have happened. But this guy who owns probably a lot of rentals, I would imagine if you own a lot of rentals, time is important, went online, got a quote, bought the job and said, hey, come on over to my house. Guy who owns a lot of rentals has a lot of HVAC systems in his house, and it turned into $100,000 in sales. That's Noah over there, by the way. I keep pointing at him. So another great story.
In Chicago here, we work with a lot of condo applications where there's multiple units in a building, same system, same layout, so forth. And we had a situation where a customer went through the steps, got a quote, and shared it with several people in their building, and it was applicable to all of them because their units are all the same. So I think there was one lead that turned into 10 sales.
Have you ever done something that is new or easy and it feels like a life hack and then you tell people about it? How many people, when you used Uber for the first time, did you just keep it a secret? Or did you tell that story? Like, I literally just pushed a button. The dude rolled up in a Camry. I have no idea if he could drive or not, but I just got in his car, right? Those are the people that went first. And this hits home in markets where you're competing in that market and you're hearing these stories. Like, that could have been your customer. Another thing to think about too is attribution. So for all my marketing people here, you need to keep a keen eye on how leads convert by channel, right? You have leads that come in all sorts of different ways. We like it when our customers can isolate these customers down. There's technology that we have that does this. But to find out, like, how does this perform from a close rate perspective and a average ticket perspective?
It's better than any marketed lead. We've had really good success with them and turned over a lot higher rate than what I would have anticipated.
When you reduce anxiety and uncertainty, you enter warmth into the equation. That customer lets that air out. Like, oh, between 194 and 394, I hope it's closer to 194, but I have no idea what that means, so we need to have them out here. It's a whole different experience when they show up at your door versus like someone coming out who's fully trained to execute an awesome sales presentation and then reveal that it doesn't cost $4,500 like it did 20 years ago. How many people have experienced that where a customer is just shell-shocked? They're like, what? And they'll say $4,500. I thought it was going to be about $4,500. People only do this purchase once or twice in their entire lifetime, max. It's out of sight, out of mind. We're going to do some funnel math. This is a great example. This is a contractor in Gastonia, North Carolina, outside of the major suburban area. They're out in the country. Last year, they completed 1,600 buying journeys. People went through and got an estimate for an HVAC system, a water heater, a generator, or something. They converted 35% of those into in-home visits. That's actually a little lower than we like to see. I like to see it more around the 50% number. Companies that are best in class do higher than that. 35%. They did about 580 in-home visits. They had a close rate of 70%, which is great. 70% close rate, 400 new customers, $12,500 average ticket, $5 million in gross revenue, and we can drill that down into gross profit. Because with a modest, I'm going to be respectful here, 1,000 visitors per month to your website. By the way, you'll only convert, most of those people are bouncing anyway, so we can help solve for that. Let's give them what they could give them, like make them more curious when they got there. If you were to get 5%, I'm doing annual numbers here, 12,000 people come to your website a year, 5% of those to go through and get a quote, and you book 35% of those into an in-home visit and close 65% and have a 12.5 average ticket, 1.7 million through a new channel next year. I promise you, everything varies. There's a lot of things to consider, but if you don't do it, it's zero. Here's an example. 2 Lennox dealers, sister companies, one's in the West Coast, one's in the South. Lennox dealer on the left had 363 leads go through, but only booked 14%. They only did $250,000 in revenue. Second Lennox dealer, much fewer conversions, smaller company, less web traffic, but they booked 50%, which again is good. Same close rate, 45%, did $243,000 in revenue. So these are some of the things that when you work with our team, we're going to set some benchmarks and targets around. Other things, best practice, if you do this, whether you do it with Contractor Commerce or you do it on your own, you've got to think about mobile. The entire experience on mobile is so important because 70% of what's going to happen is going to happen on a mobile device. It's also going to happen after hours and on the weekends. Got to respond quickly. Our technology will do a lot of that for you, most of it. We've got some integrations with other partners like Chirp and Hatch, and we have our own technology that allows that engagement to happen with the customer, but you got to engage fast. People will do this, and then they'll go straight to Instagram, and then straight to mail, and then straight to, you know the loop. You do the loop. We're like, why am I in my email? You're conditioned to just like move on from one thing to the next. Got to capture them. And I would say play the long game. Think about where things are going. Think about what the next wave of consumer engagement looks like and commit to it. Let's talk about filters. American Home Comfort Study. This is a study that's done every 2 years. I've read it every 2 years since I came into this industry a long time ago, done by a company called Decision Analyst. You can Google it. The main takeaway from this that I get every year, it never changes, is that most consumers who've gone through a major purchase of an HVAC system or a major repair, right, so $2,000 or more, can't recall the name of the company that did it for them within 2 years. They just can't remember it. I think about this story all the time. I lived in Dallas 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly. It's out of sight, out of mind. You're on to the next thing. I lived in Dallas, okay? I lived there for 21 months. I bought a house. You have to water your foundation in Dallas. That's how hot it is, okay? You have to water your foundation. I didn't water mine enough. And so when I was selling my house, I had to get foundation piers put in. I had a whatever, stupid. And I had to make all this, I had to do all this while I was out of town traveling in a different city trying to buy another house. And I remember like at the hotel at night telling my wife, like, I've got this, we'll be able to sell the house, I just have to get this thing done. They have to dig 40 feet into the limestone or something like that. And this lady, I called her and she's like, oh honey, we'll take care of this for you. And she took care of it. She took care of it. I think it was like $15,000. Ask me the name of that company. Scott, you're in Dallas. If you have foundation repairs, call me. I will be useless. You know what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to go Foundation Repair Dallas. Then you're going to get bombarded with ads. Like, that's sad. Like, that is really, really sad. And that's what happens to you and your customers. So filters. I think it's important for you to put your brand name in front of your customer as much as possible throughout the year. This is Hurlburt Heating in Minneapolis. They've put an online filter store for Lennox filters and every other brand filter you can possibly imagine directly on their company website, where a customer can go through and actually buy the filter directly from them, and we do everything. We have 5 warehouses stocked floor to ceiling with filters. We ship same day, 7 days a week, 1 to 2 day delivery. There's a 90% chance that if your customer orders by 4 o'clock, we will deliver the filters to their door the next morning with your name inside the box, your marketing material, whatever you want. We will direct deposit the margin, so the difference between the cost of the filters and how much your customer buys it for, directly in your bank account once a week. It is awesome. It is awesome, and it is the most underutilized program. Been around Lennox a long time. It's unbelievably underutilized. We have these companies here, just a handful. There's 6. I think I put their actual numbers here. 10,000 orders last year. I'll share some of their examples here in a second. This is a really, really powerful way that you can win that business back that has been lost to online retailers, like Amazon. There's more. No gimmicks, no strings. We've worked really, really hard on it. It's an unbelievably turnkey, you don't lift a finger experience. And it's not just Lennox filters, but it's the OEMs that you need and all the not the generics, but like the 1-inch filters, all those sort of things. So shout out to these companies here. You can win this back. You can win this business back, and we can help you. This is a great example, Liberty Comfort Systems in Minneapolis. They're a smaller contractor. Their problem was people would come into their shop to buy the filters. Their companies weren't actually, or their customers weren't actually going online. So they set up an online filter store, they train their CSRs, so now they just auto-ship the filters to the customers, so they stopped coming into the office. Last year they did 1,327 Healthy Climate filter sales at an average retail price of $93. Gross margin about 40%. So it's mailbox money for them. It's been a huge help. Davis, I sat with him at lunch today. Houston, Texas. So I'll back up a second. Contractor Commerce, the company that I'm talking about today, we've built a enterprise-grade, fully featured e-commerce platform for the trades. Now we're HVAC people, so it's very heavily handed in HVAC. But once you're using it, you've got a really powerful tool to sell anything. Some people sell their company swag on there. You can sell whatever you want. One of the first things we're going to encourage you to do if you work with us is put your membership plans online. If you're wanting to make it easy for someone to pay $15.99 a month for a system for a membership, let them just check out right on the website. Davis Services in Houston, Texas did this. Last year they sold 1,555 memberships. I sat next to Steve at breakfast this morning, and he's like, yeah, I'm just sitting there. I'm sitting there and I just hear ding, ding, and it's literally someone buying something on my website. And I get a ding every time that happens, and it's always between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. This is literally a conversation I had at breakfast. I was like, Steve, bro, we can turn those notifications off. Like, you don't need to be notified but he wants to hear it. It's just someone's buying something from my website. I cannot believe I get to say that now. Like, what's that?
He did say that.
He did say that. You were there. I had a witness. Thank you. And I did offer to turn the notifications off, but he was like, nope, I'm sticking with it. Someone's on your website buying something, becoming a customer. Memberships is low-hanging fruit. No one wants to call you to become a member. Like, it's great if they do.
Can you do recurring payments?
Yes, you can do recurring payments and all that. Yep. I think you need to consider being serious about filters in 2025. Super easy to add through us. We literally do everything. You sell them, we handle the shipping. All of you guys are wasting filters. They're getting damaged on the trucks. You have the wrong filter on the wrong truck. It's 2025. Let us do it for you. Set up recurring revenue. Set up your customers on a filter membership. That's another thing. You can include filters in your membership plans, auto ship those. There's so many different ways you can do this. You'll save time and money helping your customers do this. I think you should take this seriously for 2025. People have went before you. They've lived to tell the success stories. There's no gimmicks. You're in that core where you're either going to decide you're going to be the next phase of people who get on board with this, or you're going to be last. Just that's the way the innovation curve works. Consumers expect it. You should be first in your market, make it super easy. This will help you build trust, differentiation in your market. It will increase your leads and sales, and in your booking rates and close rates. I heard yesterday there was a big session on booking rates. Like, it will improve your booking and closing rates. And most importantly, our team will take great care of you. We take our relationship with Lennox and Lennox dealers very, very serious. I told you this is my 35th Lennox Live. I don't want to stand up in front of you guys and have unhappy customers. We've built a business that can support this new initiative for you. We'll take really, really good care of you. In closing, I'll let Brendan from Summit round this out. I asked him to describe his relationship with us and using Contractor Commerce.
How would I describe the value of Contractor Commerce to the business in one sentence? Easy to use and added 7.5% to my business.
So that brings me absolute joy to have someone who took a chance on doing something based off of a theory we had years ago to say, I've scrubbed the list. It added 7.5% to my business. And I want to do that for you guys. So again, I encourage you, scan this, send your information in. We'll reach out to you to schedule one-on-one to let you either opt in or opt out. But I'll close with just thank you again. And to our customers who are here, thank you for being a customer. Thank you for trusting us with, what was a crazy idea that's apparently not so crazy anymore. So I appreciate it. Thank you all. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.